Welcome to the Minecraft University podcast. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm here with the amazing Paul Casey of Growing Forward Consulting Coaching Agency Business. And what Paul does is build strategies that helps people build strategies that spark breakthrough success. Yes. So welcome, Paul Casey.
Kimberly, it's so great to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. Paul and I met in our mastermind group with Rising Tide Connection with Jake Valentine. We became fast friends ever since. And when he's talking about, Paul's a great mindset guy. When he's talking about having a mindset of confidence and courage, he also works a lot with leaders. Any of you out there who lead, to not solely leaders, but a lot with leaders. How important it is in our personal life and in our business life to have a mindset of confidence and courage. So why don't you start us out, Paul, with kind of how you got into this? Why is it important to you?
Yeah, so I started out as a elementary school teacher and then became a vice principal and then an elementary principal. I don't do that anymore. It's a lot of conflict. There are a lot of constituents to please in that role, but that's where I started my leadership journey. Became a parenting educator at a church. Then after that, so I really got to study how to lead a good family, and then went into marriage counseling as well. And along the way, realized I feel called to leadership because leadership, if we can impact a leader and they can
Yes.
revolutionize or transform themselves, then all the people under them benefit, right? It's like
Yes.
multiplication. John Maxwell calls it like multiplication factor, right? If you
Right,
just
right,
change a
right.
frontline performer, that's awesome, but that's addition, right? That's just one at a time. But leaders can really impact so many people for the good or the bad, right? Mm.
No, I think that's a really good point right out of the gate, Paul, because there's a trickle down of it. And let's just go with the positive. You get somebody amazing who isn't that person who abuses power, but does the opposite and really, the lives that are reporting to him or her really, helps them to be their best selves. That's huge. So it makes sense for them to have leadership training with you. So, okay, so one of the first things, Paul sent me a few kind of bullet points, and I was just having a conversation about this yesterday with somebody actually. What is the role, sort of maybe the roots, self-worth, role of self-worth in building this confidence and this courage that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think of it more like in physically, we need a strong core, right? We
Right,
all
right,
want
right.
good abs, right? Because it's sort of well, it helps your back, right? It's like your
Mm-hmm.
base, your foundation, right? So whether you do planks or sit-ups or whatever. And so I think of believing in yourself as the strengthening your core mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So it's a
Right,
really
right,
big
right.
deal to get your foundation set because you're the sum total of your most dominant thoughts. And that is just a big truth. So if I'm thinking that I'm like not worthy, I've got the imposter syndrome, I've got
Hmm.
I don't deserve to be at this table, whatever the table is,
Right, right, right.
then that's probably all these dominant thoughts that have been coming through since childhood. But if I'm thinking like I belong here, like I've been getting better every year, and I've got something great to share with people, then those dominant thoughts lead to this confidence that then I can project onto my people.
Oh, I love that. Very eloquently put. And I think a lot of people sometimes we tend to think there's like a happiness fairy, a confidence fairy, a courage fairy that's just we're sleeping, they just drop, confidence pixie dust on our heads or something. But really, like anything else in life, right? It takes effort, right? Right, Paul? So
It sure
so
does.
yes, what do you want to say about that piece? Like as far as how you work with people, you must have kind of a
Right. Yeah, I
process.
do, I do lots of exercises with them. I don't think I've met an assessment I don't like. I've got dozens of them in my quiver that I could pull out to help leaders become more self-aware and to build their confidence, right? So we try to nail down what's their big purpose? Why are they on this planet? What's their personal mission statement, some would say. Like I was just working with a client group this morning that we talked about their personal mission statement. And boy, it was like a big wow factor, you know? It was really cool. Core values would be another one. We've got to nail down what's most important to us because we are behaving like we believe. So let's re-identify what those are. Your strengths is another one. And I know sometimes we go like, oh, I don't have any strengths, you know, like, yes, you do. You're better than 10,000 people at many, many different things. Right. So let's key in on those. Your experience thus far, like you've gotten through all the crises of your life, 100% of them, right? You're still here and you've made it through there and you've got a ton of experience. So you put all those things together through assessments. Like I got them all on one page,
Right, right,
like
right.
my personality, and I could just sort of slide it across the table to you and go like, this is me in a nutshell. Boy, there's confidence that comes with knowing who you are.
Oh, 100%. And I think the putting it in writing or seeing it, I know strength scope. I don't know if you know that inventory. That's my favorite one.
Okay.
Show there's a color wheel and it's right there. And it's not like you're great at this and you suck at this. It's kind of like, just varies in strength. And I like how you started out, Paul, with the know your why, very Simon Sinek. Know your
Hmm.
why, because if you don't really know why you're doing what you're doing, you maybe want to backtrack and go there.
Yeah, because you'll drift if not, right? You'll just sort of drift through
Yeah.
life. You'll react to life. That doesn't feel very empowering when you're just drifting. Nobody wakes up today and like, yay, I get to drift today, right?
But isn't that the truth though? And sometimes I know when I've asked people that like casually, not meaning to put them on the spot, but in conversation, sometimes they're completely stumped. Like what makes your heart sing? What makes you excited? They're like, you
Yeah, we
know,
don't take time to reflect on that. The average person doesn't take reflect time about these deep things that we're talking about today, but there's such a benefit in doing so.
which means you're a piece of driftwood
That's right.
floating along, and it's just not, we're not saying it with judgment. We're saying it with you can make much better use of your life minutes and have a more fulfilling, joyful existence while making a difference for people.
Yeah, because you'll miss opportunities if you're just drifting. Like quick funny story of this. Well, it's not funny, it's sort of sad, but I made the honor roll in high school and I'm from Chicago and we got to go to a Chicago Cubs game during the school day, which was really cool. Right? Nobody was there because it was a day game. They didn't even have lights at the stadium back in Wrigley Field back then. Um, so we're there early before the game, and a guy walks up and says, "Anybody want to be the bat boy for the Chicago Cubs today?" And we're like, "This guy," like. But inside, I was just thinking, like, I don't want to make a mistake. Like, what if I hand the bat to the wrong guy? Like, what if I get in the way of a play at the plate? What if I do it wrong? Right? What if I make the whole bus late because I got to change out of the bat boy? And all these fears went through my head, and I missed the opportunity to be the
Oh,
bat boy for the Chicago Cubs, right?
oh,
And that's what happens
Paul.
when you just react. Mhm.
You know what? I feel like I heard this because I think it made me cringe the first time I heard it. And but but it's such the blessed in that mess is that now you've got a powerful story to change lives.
Yep.
I mean, you've got a really powerful, so that was meant to be in my eyes.
Yes.
Like
Yes. And
because you didn't know then as a little guy that you were gonna have a powerful story
right.
someday, you know?
Right. I wasn't setting myself up for when I'm at my age, right? But now it's made me look back to what were those limiting beliefs that I have,
Yeah.
and that was just sort of trained into me all my life. And then what negative consequences did I get as a result of those limiting beliefs and fears? And now I at least know how to put in a replacement truth, to counter that
Hmm.
limiting belief, which is an exercise I'll take my clients through. Like for example, someone might go like, "Well, Paul, there's a job available." And I'm like, "So you can apply for it?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Well, why not?" "Well, I don't deserve to apply for that job." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, "Well, I won't be considered anyway. They probably already have another candidate in mind." So then I said, "So what's the consequence if that happens?" "Well, I'll just let the application date pass, or maybe I'll just do the interview, but I'm not going to prepare for it because I don't have high hopes." right? Instead, you have to put a replacement truth in there and say, like, I have all the requirements that meet the criteria for this job, or it's up to them to choose whether I'm a good fit for this job, as well as me to say yes or no. But it's hard to actually put that replacement truth in and counter all those limiting beliefs that we've had for years.
Yeah, I agree with you. So basically, Paul, let's say the leaders who come to you or the people who aren't leaders are doing one-on-one coaching or whatever it is. Mostly, is that what's holding them back? Is limiting beliefs?
Yes, yes. There's some fear issue there. Like I had a coach who trained me, and it's like, what's behind that fear, or what are you afraid of? And that question feels like a slap in the face in the
Right,
moment,
right,
because you're
right.
just like, wait, I want to talk about like fear stuff, and oh, I'm not afraid of anything, right? And then he digs a little bit deeper, and you're like, oh, there's something down there. Like some typical fears are like fear of being criticized.
Mm-hmm,
Right.
mm-hmm.
Some people want to set themselves up so that they don't make any mistakes, so that no one can pick a typo up on them, or
Mm-hmm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
that they can't say that he made the wrong call on this. And so, what do we do then? Then we sort of wall ourselves in and try to appear perfect. Other people have
Right.
the fear of failure, right? They just don't want to fail. They feel like that's the worst crushing blow you could have, is to make a mistake or have a temporary failure. Others have a fear of overwhelm. They're just like, I like chill life. And when you change something up or you push me out of my comfort zone, I'm like, whoa,
Right,
like I
right,
want to
right.
freak out or have a panic attack, right? So yeah, I would say all of us have one of those deep down in that we need to root out.
In there. I wonder too if do you ever encounter, it's probably disguised a bit, but a fear of success masking as self-sabotage that maybe the person isn't
Mm.
even aware of. Do you ever see that?
I just see it once in a while, but I get what you're saying, and I read about it a lot too. Is that they think about like, wow, this would really change my schedule. This would really, like, I don't know what I would do with that money if I made that much
Right, right,
money.
right. Yeah.
People might see me a different way. I don't have as many people that fear that. Most of them they want to get to success.
But so
But
it's
I
more
have
the
heard
fear
of
of
that one, yeah.
it's more the fear of failure and all the ways to not be
Yes.
enough and all that
Yeah, they say most
limiting.
people fear the lack of something, the pain, avoiding pain. More people are motivated by avoiding pain than they are gain, which is sad, but that's our human nature for most people.
Well, that's actually a very good point. So they're really more reacting to the negative than being pulled towards the positive.
Yeah, playing defense
Interesting.
instead of offense, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting, interesting. So how do you think this plays into you have relationship development and building
Hmm.
confidence, and this is where you have your three types here.
Yeah, I read a book called Act Like a Leader, Think Like a Leader by Herminia Ibarra. And she talked about we need networks. We need to expand our networks to build confidence. And I was thinking, okay, I'm not quite sure how that goes together, but I'm listening. And then she said, well, like we need to hang around the can do people, not the can't do people, the empowers, the lifters. And I'm like, okay, now I'm with you. We're the sum total of the five people closest to
Right, right,
us.
right. The people you hang
So
out with. That's right.
yeah. So that's why I'm in this group with you as well, Kim. I hang out with successful people who've got great mindsets. So Ibarra says we need three networks. We need a personal network, which is your friends and family, people that love you outside of work, that give you that emotional support. Then we need an operational network at work, and those are the people that help you get your job done and get a good
Right,
performance review. Then we need a strategic network, and I never heard this before. It's people that actually think about your long-term goals, your career goals, the ultimate success, living out that personal mission. And I went,
mhm.
okay. So now when I ask this to my audiences, I say, which one do you need more of in your life? Few hands go up for personal, few hands go up for operational, a lot
And
of hands
do they
go up
all
for
go up for
strategic. Yeah,
or
because they never thought of it either, right?
but really that's where you and I come in, different audiences, but to
Yes.
be that coach and also the guidance, but also there's something to be said that for having that accountability piece, I think.
You're here. Yep.
I know for me it does.
Yeah, that rising tide really does lift all boats, right? So if you got people in each of these networks, you're naturally rising with these can-do people. I heard one quote is like, it'd be better to hang out with the construction gang than the wrecking crew. I love that quote. It's like, you want people that are builders, not people that bring in the wrecking ball and smash and say, we can't do that. There's no budget for it, and you'll never amount to that. And it's like,
Oh my.
that will feed your limiting beliefs if you're around the wrecking crew.
Yeah. I think I have like I feel like I'm walking around in a force field or something, Paul, because I feel like I have repellent or like somebody sprayed me with, because when any like negativity gets near me, I'm just like, I mean, I'm always polite, but I find out a way to smoothly exit stage left.
You should go on Shark Tank with a negativity repellent,
100%, hundred
Spell that.
percent. So 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 I'm wondering, so you're talking about here too about folks who are maybe who listening, Paul, who are just the light bulbs just going on. I think like Oprah's aha moments, because she's one of my good friends. She's just not aware of it. She talks about the ahas, but
Yep.
maybe they're just getting an awareness where if you've ever had it, I have, where the person's talking and I'm going, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, I do that, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But they're just starting, they're just kind of how would you say, how would somebody get started with baby steps towards, in addition to reaching out to you for coaching, maybe, but baby steps, some first steps that they could do to get going.
Yeah, and I love that concept of baby steps or those first actionable steps to work on building your courage and your confidence. Like maybe you're in meetings at work and you just sort of like a ping pong match, you just like, that's a good point, that's a good point. And then the meeting's over and you haven't said anything, right? And you think that's a good
Right.
meeting, but you haven't added any value to the meeting. So if you've been silent or to actually just tack on to someone else's good words and concur with them and then say why, and maybe tack on a little bit of what you think. That would be a baby step to speaking up in a meeting where you might be a little intimidated. Or maybe
Hmm.
it's to volunteer for a role where your team lead is going like, hey, we need someone to do this. And you're like, everybody just sort of steps back instead of
Like
steps
not it.
forward.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And you go like, I'll take on that problem. Like, because I know I'm a quick learner. Like I can figure this out as I go. And you get some respect with that. Like, whoa,
Hmm.
that's a tough
Hmm. Hmm.
issue. And that's a baby step. Side hustles, right? We've all started with a side hustle, I think. Very few people launched in entrepreneurship right out of high school, though some have. But many of us started with a day job and then
Oh,
this
definitely.
dream job sort of came up from the side. That's what happened to me 10 years ago. Like this dream job rose up. Well, you could start that business plan, right? You can start thinking about how to get that side hustle up and going because it's probably your passion, or at least it's a passion project. So these are a lot of these little baby steps to start going in that direction, that attainable stretch. Not enough to pull a muscle, but an
Right, right, right,
attainable
right, right.
stretch.
Right. And really to be listening to that. We were talking about knowing your why earlier too, because I think when we're flying around like gerbils on crack in this fast paced, I give you visual there, like,
I liked it. I
like,
liked it.
yeah, well, it's true because I think we're conditioned to just go at this warp speed. We're not conditioned to be still and listen to our inner voice. And I
Mm,
think
wow.
it doesn't really come when we're road raging and when we're, focused on when we're not present is not when that communication happens. It's so I think that's important also. So I was wondering too, because I have another little note here about some other little habits. So that was a good few though for confidence momentum. Is that different, you think? Like you're already
Well,
starting to build it. What if you have a little setback? Like you're doing well, and then
yeah.
somebody said something snarky in a meeting after you built up the confidence to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first I would say is to expect that. Like just expect
Okay.
resistance when you're going into any kind of goal that you set. It's it's a bummer, right? But it's like as soon as you set a goal, resistance comes calling. Like,
Oh,
oh,
sure.
your brain's like, I like homeostasis. I like to stay right here. Like, I don't want to do that stretch stuff. I like my green zone, my comfort zone, right?
Right,
And you
right,
go into that
right.
yellow zone, and you're like, I don't like this. So you have to expect it. I like the character Wolverine, in the
Hmm,
X-Men,
hmm,
right?
hmm.
So he's got that, was it adamantium or something inside of him, right? So that he heals very quickly, right? So they always set him out front. So he's taking the bullets and the arrows and the radiation. He's not having a good time, right? It's painful for him, but he's taking all
Yeah.
those hits, but then he keeps absorbing the hit and keep going. Absorb the hit and keep going. That's what I would say to all your listeners, Kim, today is like keep absorbing those hits, that resistance. The fear's still there. Like you can look at it and even go like, fear, I see you. You don't get the wheel. Like you don't get to drive today.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, you tapped right into something I talk about a lot because I think sometimes people think, this will be fine when I'm not afraid of this. The fear goes away. The fears don't go away, right? Because courage is plowing forward regardless of the fear. So it's interesting you use the driver's thing because I say that too. Because if fear isn't a driver's seat, you gotta bump her over to the passenger side, hopefully then the back seat, and eventually the trunk, knowing that she's there, she doesn't get a voice anymore. You just like whap.
Yeah.
But
Some people
sometimes
even name it.
people think fear's going away. That's not how it works.
No, no, no. Some people name their fear like, like you can't be in here, and they could call him a name like Elroy, you can't be here. Like,
Can't be here.
get
Oh
to the
my
back.
God. I'll tell you, I have a little, I have a little visual. It's like this three-eyed, dark little monster with these antennas and these eyes, and it sits in the back seat of my when I do a visual. If there's something bugging me, trapped in a harness, and it's like salivating and being gross and everything. And I'll like go through the drive-through, like a made-up drive, and like you don't get a voice, no shake for you, no, be
I like it.
quiet.
I like it. Yeah. And so how does that play out in regular life? It's like you get a negative comment from someone, or they post on your social media a negative comment or something. You're like, nope, I'm undeterred. I'm still moving forward. You get a rejection email from a potential customer, right? You're like, it's
Hmm.
all right. They're a better fit for somebody else, right? Nobody's doing any cartwheels for this great idea or this great vision. Even your family might go like, yeah, whatever, that's not going to work. You stay the course, you
Yeah,
take
yeah,
the first steps. Everybody's watching to see if you're consistent, right? Because there's so many flash in the pans
right.
nowadays. And then like a year later, I'm like, where are they? Like they're gone. They didn't stick with it. Mhm.
Well, yeah, and Jake, our friend who runs our group, says this constantly that successful people, one of the biggest main sort of character things or slash behavior, it's all a component, whatever you want to label it, is that we continue to move forward. Which is you can see Paul's got growing forward behind him there. We continue to move forward regardless of whether we feel like it or not. Like
Yeah.
I do 2 videos a day and I love it 99% of the time. Every once in a while, would it be like horizontal rain or something? I'm like, but then you got to figure out another plan to when you have that moment of can't make me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to act your way into the feeling. The feeling often
Yeah,
doesn't come first, right?
yes. You gotta do it whether you feel like it or not. Of course, Tony Robbins talks about that, and Paul's all about that with his consulting and coaching business. Well, this sounds super good. I want to ask you one last question, Paul, if you want, or maybe that's not really a question. It's more of like if you wanted to, because Paul, I've known him for, I don't know, some years now. Paul is amazing. So if you're a leader, you're in need of coaching in this area of confidence and getting rid of limiting beliefs and fear, he is definitely your person. So I'm thinking, Paul, if you could, like, just in a general sense, describe a basic process with a client. Like it's not going to be everybody one size fits all, but kind of give them, they walk in, call you, what happens then?
Yeah, I'll give you an intake form right away because I want to know some more about you right away so we can hit the ground running. So it'll
Hmm.
be things like Where do you sabotage yourself? What does this ideal picture of your future look like? What do you want to work on in 30 to 90 days and get those early wins? Questions like that, I want to know right out of the chute. And then that first session, I really want to dive into your world. Like, tell me about the position you have at work. Tell me about your family. Tell me a little bit about your personal history, so that I can really get sort of, putting on your glasses, so to speak, to find
Mhm.
out where you're starting from, because we need that you are here position first. And then I want to know where you're going. So
Right.
that the G and the R of like the word grow, like G is goals. I want to know where you're headed. The R is reality. This is where you are now. And as a coach, I jump into the that gap between goals and reality, and I do O, which is options. And that's where I ask you a ton of questions so that
Mhm.
we can start turning it into an action plan. And then W is the way forward. What are you going to commit to every session? I'm going to hold you loosely accountable, but I'm not going to bang you over that if you don't get it done, right? I'm going to be more encouraging than I will be, discouraging. But I will hold you accountable. Like I will ask, like, what did you get done, and
Mhm.
was there a
Mhm.
reason why it stalled? And so those are the kinds of sessions that we do, and I usually throw in one of those assessments that I was telling you about, so you get
Mhm.
more and more self-aware and build your self-leadership, so then you can build your team leadership.
That sounds fantastic. I really like that Paul, because I think when many of us are feeling overwhelmed and maybe confused and maybe frustrated, fearful, limited, or maybe different, overlap with some of those, how much does it really help to have somebody map out, to get it in writing with with the client's help, right? Because they're the expert on
Yep,
themselves,
they are.
but to have it, bullets of where I am, where I'd like to be, and what's in the way, and how do I get there? I mean,
People love to visualize that, Kim. They really do.
yes,
They like, because again, they haven't had a lot of reflection time because they're going like the what was it, the hamster on crack?
they're longer. Yeah,
And so they don't have time. And this is, I like to be like an oasis in a leader's day. Like they have to
right,
just sort of like they come in hot, like, "Rrr," and then it's like, here I am. And then it's like, whoo, okay, let's slow down. Let's reflect. Where do you want to head today? Where do you want to head in this season of your leadership?
right,
Where are
right,
we
right.
at? And they like to see that plan, that like you said, we co-create together, right? I'm not trying to jam them in any system. I just
No.
really want them to take charge of their own life. And I'm here to just like put my arm around them, so to speak, and say, like, I'm with you for that journey.
Well, this is excellent. Paul gave us a really, really good kind of visual picture of many, professional adults who find themselves at whatever age, because I don't think fear is, it's kind of an equal opportunity employer. It's different. What do they say about that old, oh, next level, new devil?
Right.
Something like
Yeah.
that. So you
Yep. New
conquered
level, new
you
devil.
conquered yourself here in your 30s, and then here it's back. It just looks different. You
Yeah.
know? And to have somebody like Paul to walk you through it with all this experience and wisdom and everything is excellent. So Paul's information is going to be in the bottom in the blurb. Do you want to rattle off your website, Paul?
Sure. Thank you. Says .net. All one word, growingforwardservices.net. And I'm also growing Forward Services on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, or Paul D. Casey on LinkedIn.
There you go. It's like it's so I mean so easy to find people now, but so please reach out if you just want. If you're not sure, you can carry out the conversation, do a discovery call, something like that. And so, wow, wisdom bombs all over the place. So big thank yous to Paul Casey of Growing Forward Consulting and Coaching. Thanks for being with us, Paul.
It's been a pleasure, Kim.